Hi everyone. Today we are here to discuss a very interesting topic about game growth and the new rules of mobile game growth. What's actually working in 2026. My name is Zdravka Dimitrova and I'm a BD at Ioto One Games. I'm part of the platform team, and I love this because we help developers grow through scalable tech, like our monetization platform, for example. And today I get the chance to do the fun part of my job, like the fun version, and ask three of the sharpest people in mobile growth all of the questions which I normally discuss with developers on a daily basis. So today we're gonna have Eva Juretic, Çağatay Göker, and Adam Smart to discuss the topic about rising UA costs, creative fatigue, how we use AI to grow our games, and basically to discuss openly that the old playbooks don't work anymore. So, guys, please be open, share what's working. We know that whatever is working, you already tested last week. We know that you have all the data. And last but not least, we have people who have the front seats in game growth. So the stage is yours. Eva,
Cool.
maybe we can start with an intro from you.
Oh, okay. Well, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Eva, based in Croatia. I've been in mobile marketing for over 10 years and performance marketing, I think over 12 now, and have been specializing in mobile games primarily, but mobile apps in general. I act as a consultant, as well as coach and fractional head of growth through my consultancy called Clickbait.
Thank you. Adam, would you like to present yourself?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Adam. I'm Director of Product for Gaming over at AppsFlyer. I'm sure everyone on this call knows AppsFlyer, but if not, we are the leading attribution partner for about 60% of the gaming industry right now. I've been in mobile gaming for about 20 years now. Showing my age somewhat. Before AppsFlyer, I spent about 7 years at Product Madness, sort of building out their back-end platforms. Ironically, I've never actually been in user acquisition as such, so I've always been building out the platforms and trying to work out why the numbers don't add up for a lot of the people actually running user acquisition. But where I am now, I have a very nice view of lots of different accounts, so I can see things on a more holistic level.
Thank you. And Çağatay, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone. I'm Çağatay. I'm the key account manager of Social Peta in MENA region. Social Peta is leading a competitive ad intelligence platform for mobile marketers. And at Social Peta, I partner with top brands and advertisers to decode market trends, optimize advertising strategies, and scale user growth using the real-time data. So I will try to share actionable insights from our recent reports and the current state of the market from our dashboard today.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for the brief intro. I think we have a great group of panelists. And I'll jump straight to one of the important topics we want to discuss today, and I'll give the word to each of you. So when you look back and you look at your recent campaigns and projects, what's one change in mobile game growth that actually surprised you the most? And how are teams responding to that change? Eva, as a lady,
Who's
we will give the
first?
floor to you again.
Oh, that's a trap, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Okay, so um, what surprised me the most? So I think, um, in a way, there's no cheap scale anymore. We are seeing, for example, on Meta, CPIs are up. and predictability in a way is gone, right? So um, the surprise wasn't really the cost, it's more how the typical go-to advice that people keep on, repeating, and as you said, playbooks are not really, working in the same way. And creative fatigue now happens in days, not months, right? So teams, I think, teams responding well are treating these creatives as a testing system, not like completely as a testing system, not as a production line or anything they can kind of stick to. So, and also with that trend, there's like more concepts, more ideation, but also smaller budgets and faster kills. So I think like things just kind of accelerated in a way, and either you're kind of, keeping up with the pace, or you're just like super slow and you're just fade away very quickly.
Nice. And Adam, is that what you see from your perspective as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because looking at it, I mean, obviously, as I said, I don't run a specific account, but looking across multiple, it is interesting in the speed of iteration and everything now. When you look at the impact that AI, certainly image gen, video gen, has had in the industry, and certainly the creatives that people are running now is, as Eva was saying, it's gone from being a matter of weeks to a matter of days in terms of the refresh rate of creatives. So it has had a massive impact on the industry. The other one that I'm incredibly surprised at, and that I actually really like because it's outside of the norm, is the effect influencers are having now. I think that's grown now in terms of growth. I think people are actually starting to understand how they can work with influencers because it is different, and it's certainly not a one size fits all, and it takes a lot of understanding of how you can work with influencers and how you can build it out for your own needs. And there's many different ways of working with them, but I do see now I'm starting to see a good amount of traffic coming through influencers.
Awesome. That's something which we also monitor, and I think more and more companies will start doing that.
Yeah.
And Yatai, from your standpoint, can you share what has changed and what's
Uh,
actually working?
yeah. Actually it's a great question, and I agree with Adam about the iteration of the creatives, and I will try to provide some data behind it. So the most surprising shift has been recently, I think, the absolute death of the set it and forget it campaign, driven by how aggressively platforms are penalizing creative fatigue. Our recent data shows that creative relevance decays in a matter of days. In fact, we have observed that click-through rates can plummet by roughly 45% after just four exposures if a creative isn't refreshed. So what makes even more surprising is how ad networks are forcing our hands on that side. For example, Meta's Andromeda algorithm update in Q3 in last year fundamentally changed how creatives are evaluated. So the platform now interprets the multiple similar creative variation as a single creative entity. You can no longer just tweak a background color or a single button or call it a new creative. It demands a genuine, rapid originality. So as a result, we have seen that like average of 82% of monthly advertisers were forced to release their brand new creatives every single month, just to stay competitive. So how teams can responding today to these uh, problems, we can see like teams no longer chasing volume for the sake of the volume, because creative is now the most controllable performance lever, and the best teams are utilizing AI to scale to really unique concepts like moving from static video to variations to AI generated playables that validate more mechanics instantly. So in short, the biggest surprise is that algorithms are forcing us to be like better marketers to be adaptive. And the teams winning today are the ones who treat the creative generation and user retention as one unified high-speed system.
And
It's
overall, yep, sorry, please jump in.
it's funny. It's kind of moved the bottleneck from actually creating the creatives in the first place to working out what's working and what isn't. And I think that's become one of the biggest problems now is when you have this mass of creatives and you have to change them on such a frequent basis, is trying to understand what's actually working and very, very quickly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just to jump in, so I think that there were like couple shifts, right? Maybe 10 years ago, UA managers focused, well, okay, how do I, in a smart way organize the campaigns and my audiences and lookalikes and exclude them, not, more about campaign structure and targeting, where now it creative is almost completely taking precedent in a kind of sense of how do we feed algorithms the correct data and how do we
Yeah.
teach algorithms what works for us, right? So in a way,
I mean, 10 years ago, we had
yeah,
one hero creative that worked
yeah,
incredibly well, and we
yeah,
couldn't
yeah, yeah,
find another creative that worked anywhere near as well. So it was kind of like you didn't have all of these options and you didn't have the speed of creation. And I think that's where half the problem now is as soon as there is one creative that you see on the marketplace that suddenly works, there's then thousands the next day of
yeah.
that same creative that everyone's running.
Yeah, I think that's in a way a good thing because it kind of forces you to step back and think holistically. I'm not a fan of that word because it doesn't say much, but essentially is to like use common sense as well, and but like okay, how and what we're communicating through creatives, what the product actually is, focusing on not creating false expectations when you bring user in the product so they stay and get the value. There's like the whole thing, right? From user acquisition and creatives and you know from the first impression essentially until a user goes in the app, but also registers and use the app and and all the thing, right? So,
But
and that's
do
the
you think
growth,
with
yeah.
tools like sort of Facebook Creative Viewer and that kind of thing, you end up looking at what's working and what isn't, and copying that as opposed to really building something up for your own purposes. You know, it opens the door to just jump starting and using someone else's creativeness, doesn't it?
Yeah. So here's the thing, and here's my kind of maybe a different take. I think starting off as looking what competitors are doing is a great starting point, but that's it. It's like a starting point, and it's not like copy pasting, but kind of okay, this concept works well, but it's important to understand why, right? Like, is it a hook? Is it like where do people drop off and things like that? So as easier as it is to create variations of your winning creatives with AI and all these tools, great. The con side of it is that people achieve speed before they get the understanding. So you have to get the understanding first of your product and your audience and what makes people tick and why are they, staying in your apps first of all, before you kind of achieve the speed. And it's tricky to 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 kind of for the teams to learn that in a way. Sometimes do
Yeah.
one, something either you're like to achieve the speed but lack the understanding and then you're just kind of producing something that doesn't work at a faster pace, or
Basically,
you
you're
have
saying
understanding or you're kind of but you're too slow, so there's a
you're,
balance I
you're
think.
saying that the foundation is knowing your own product, your audience, then you step on lessons learned, let's say that way, see what's working well, and from there it's speed and be
Yeah,
fast to iterate
it
and
it,
find your own unique creatives.
it sounds 100%. It sounds like a common sense, right? But then it's like, okay, what is actually done and applied in practice? Obviously, people need to understand the product and audience and things like that. But ultimately, if you have a competitor and you're able to, what I say, like outfail them, aka test more things at a faster pace while you're learning. So not just testing for the sake of testing, but really, have a hypothesis and understanding
Yeah, I was
what
going to
it
say
is.
it's that creative management stroke testing philosophy that you have to
Yeah,
have a massive, very, very strong grounding of before you start throwing out creatives like one after the
yeah,
other.
exactly. And I see that a lot of teams don't have that figured out. And that's okay. A lot of startups don't, but there's a way to achieve that.
Can you, Eva, can you share a little bit more about how can startups succeed? And how is AI actually reshaping the approach to creative development, scaling, generating creatives, and everything which is related to it in mobile gaming? What do you see?
Yeah, so specifically startups, and I'll talk about them just because I work with them the most, not exclusively, but they're, mostly with startups. So startups can't really win on media buying sophistication, right? Right. So I would just say don't even kind of stop trying there. The advantage is, as we mentioned, like speed and product knowledge, but also what I mean by product knowledge is also having the data infrastructure that connects product and user acquisition, because only with that collaboration you can achieve growth as we know it. It's not UA and it's not product, it's what happens in between when we work together, right? So no agency really knows your game better than you ultimately. So ultimately, maybe like ultimately your goal should be to have that team internally. And with AI, it removes that bottleneck between concept and asset to get more creatives, and having eventually 10 creatives, like creative directions in a day is realistic. But you do need to, we're now talking about not maybe like full on startups where just, a couple of people. Um, and what I'm seeing as the startups that win are not relying on AI as your third employee or whatever it is, but use it, learning how to use it properly and use it as a tool and use it with understanding to speed up what is already working, right? And eventually, companies that win are ones that are having essentially small production studios in house. I think that's the a little bit like from startup to a certain stage of growth.
It's really
Very,
funny.
very
We did
similar
some
as
analysis on this recently for a creative report, and we found that like out of the four tiers of company size, effectively,
yeah,
the
yeah,
winners were the sort of startups,
yeah,
and the very last stage of like enterprise, because they have the ability to, I mean, for startups, just being able to create creatives on a very quick process works beautifully.
yeah,
And for enterprise, they're the ones who are able to manage that throughput in a way of being able to test it and everything. But we found that it actually becomes more problematic in the middle two stages of being able to work with that number of creatives without having this infrastructure there to be able to deal with
yep.
it. It was actually really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that's the leverage. But just one thing, sorry, from my experience, working with startups for me it's so fun because they're like anything goes. Let's just that whatever goes. But when working with a company of a certain size, then you have brand guidelines or IP or that like you have more or more rules, which is kind of slowing down, and kind of giving you more limitations. Just where startups are just like what wins? This is a TikTok trend now. Great. Let's do a ad that kind of has the same vibe, energy, whatever. They're
Let's
just
And
do
open
anything
to
to
like
make revenue.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. They're just like, let's make it work first and then figure out the legal.
and is there anything which is counterintuitive and people will still do it or find it useful, or you would say don't do that? any specific example you may think of.
I mean,
You
don't do
don't have
anything
to answer that
illegal.
right now, but if there's
Okay.
anything counterintuitive which we can do and you know it works, you can share that later.
Mm.
Adam, just like stepping on what Eva shared, and can you share a little bit more from your standpoint, from the attribution and measurement, also from data privacy standpoint? How are mobile game teams evaluating campaign performance, and how how are changes shaping the way we'll do the growth decisions in future?
Yeah, cool. Um, Look, I think we can all agree it's been an interesting few years in terms of user acquisition. Like when I was at Product Madness, the rule book that we had over that period of time is completely gone out the window now, and I can see that across the board. Um, I think things like with scan coming in, ATT, all of that side of stuff, Google Privacy Sandbox coming in, and then no, we're going to forget that. I think those have had a massive impact on the industry, obviously. Uh, Things like Google's ICM, Meta's AEM have made a huge difference in being able to give people the data that they once had back again, and being able to target in ways that are or were industry standards, sort of bringing those back again. Um, Across the board, I think the most interesting shift that I've seen is everything's moved towards. I mean, like a lot of things were already ROAS focused, but I think a lot more has moved towards CPA and a specific ROAS focusing. I think a lot of the larger networks now, you ping them a ROAS target, and they sort of do everything else, and you just sit back and watch the money roll in, or that's the idea anyway. I think that change is probably one of the biggest ones, and very much focusing on CPA has become even more of a must over the last period of time.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. At the end of the day, you need to balance everything. And is there anything that teams would are getting wrong about that change, or teams are catching up fast and they learn quickly?
I think for the majority, most of the teams are doing a very good job. The it's an interesting time at the moment because the rule book is kind of rewriting. Especially when it comes to things like creatives, and when it comes to yeah, even things like measurement of installs and that kind of, what is an install, the classification around those different things. Lots of companies have their own internal BI where they will analyze, what an install is to them, and then be able to sort of recategorize how everything operates. Yeah, for me, I don't really have a specific at the moment that people are doing wrong. I can have a think and come back to you on that one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Chagtai, from what you're seeing across social patterns data, what are the some of the most common creative patterns or ad formats that mobile game advertisers are relying on and scaling well with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at Social Peta, we are processing and categorizing nearly 2 billion ad creatives globally. And we get to see the micro trends before they become the industry standards. So looking at the macro level for 2025, video is undeniably king, accounting for over 74% of all creatives, which is a 14% jump year over year. But specifically in short form video, uh, you have a like under the 30 seconds makes up to 58% of that pie. So you have a very short window to capture attention, and when we drill down into the actual narratives teams are using to scale, we see three distinct strategies dominating. First, for the mid-core games like SLGs, like the lightweight minigame hooks is the absolute norm. So the classic mathematical gates and parkour where the players makes a bad choice and deliberate fails is still top choice for the casual SLG creators. The psychology of I can do this better than the person in the video remains incredibly potent. The second is the casual games are heavily relying on virality and AI. So they are opening ads with bizarre AI-generated concept or directly hooking viewers with the trending TikTok Shorts videos before the snapping back to actual gameplay. It's all about stopping the scroll in those crucial first 2 seconds. And the third, we are seeing a massive reliance on the emotional narrative driven live action and 3D ads. For simulation games, like we see a lot of cheating, adultery, or survival stories that end in a deliberate failure or sad ending. Everybody knows that, like the prime example is like the Gossip Harbor, which scaled massively using narratives of a mother and daughter trying to survive in freezing winter. It drives a deep empathy and motivates the users to download the game to just save the characters. Meanwhile, the casino games are leaning hard into the live action drama involving cash and gold and using AI-powered dubbing to instantly localize those high-performing live action ads for multiple global markets. The main takeaway is that the advertisers aren't just scaling by showing their game's UI. They are scaling by leveraging the deliberate, the failure, viral memes, and high emotion storytelling, and using AI to produce these hooks faster than ever.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the insights. You have all the data, knowledge, and stats which big and small studios can basically tap on. Okay, guys, and if we need to look ahead to 2026, what's one strategy or capability you believe will be essential for driving real and sustainable growth? And also feel free to like share your unfiltered stories of maybe unsuccessful cases and what developers should not do because we know it doesn't work. Eva, do you want to start first?
I knew it. I knew it. Of
Of
course I
course.
will. um. So the question is, what trends in 2026, right?
Yeah, what will
So
drive real growth? What is actually working, basically?
we're yet to find out. But okay. So generally, so first jumping on the AI, there's a lot of talk, obviously, about AI and creatives, but I also see, and we see switching from like AI and data. So getting the insights faster, um, because like there's a lot of questions that data analysts or UA managers get, and it takes time to analyze them and craft a proper response, because it's not just finding the insights but making it valuable and actionable, right? If somebody asks, oh, what happened with the retention, or why, for the why, you know needs to really, uh, it takes time to dig it in. So when it comes to data and those insights, I see that AI is like really stepping in this year, finally, because it's a huge time saver. A lot of, hey, quick question that would take somebody half an hour or more, like depending on the question, can be like addressed and answered with AI. Not everything, maybe, but things like that, and it's huge time saver, which saves time and let us, focus on things that move the needle, if you will. Another thing that I've been noticing and thinking about is something, let's call it creative to retention correlation. So it's not just pumping out a bunch of creatives, but also seeing through different signals, um, on a scale, like what type of creatives work. So it's not necessarily about like this one creative, but after you test certain number of creatives, you start to recognize the pattern and get the idea of what works, what not just on your CTRs or click-through rates or your cost, like low CPIs, anything like that, because I don't think those are relevant. But the ones that are relevant that are communicating what product is, which reflects in the retention. So I think those are the shifts that I'm noticing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Adam, Çağatay, do you have to add or comment to whatever shared? And then feel free to also share your view.
I mean, Eva was pretty spot on. Like, I think AI, if you're not using it already, you're behind. I think that's the general sentiment at the moment. Um, Agents are phenomenal and getting much, much better every day. Setting them off to do specific tasks, whether it's monitoring outliers, whether it's, seeing our campaign performance, it's so, so much better than just a rule set. So if you've not started playing with them, I implore you to start playing. It will change your life. I think everything else from copy, doing that through ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it may be, is almost essential now in this world. Any analytics is becoming more and more essential, but it gives you the power to do so much more as well. Having a group that is monitoring outliers, for instance, on a lot of the campaigns that you're running, whether it be for fraud purposes, whether it be for, actual performance of the users, that kind of thing. Before you would have had to assign a data scientist, probably, or a data analyst at the very least, to monitor specific things like that. Now you have the ability to use an agent to be able to, that's their sole task, is to do this one thing, and they do it very, very well. Obviously, it's still a machine, and you still have to verify, and you still have to make sure, don't just follow it blindly. But it is a huge helping hand, and it does work. It really, really does. So I implore everyone to, if you're not already, give it a go. And also creative production. I mean, like, some of the AI stuff now is just phenomenal. If you're not using it, you're probably spending way over the odds compared to your competitors for generating creatives right now. There is the thought process that non-AI creative is succeeding against because it's thought through, it's custom crafted. I think that boat has sailed, and I think it is now. If you're not using AI, then you are paying way over the odds, and you're not moving as quickly. So definitely AI.
Yeah, thank you. So use AI. We implore people to use agents as well. Set up your analytics properly. And Çağatay, what can you add or confirm, agree, disagree?
You know, it's very hard to disagree with the AI is the main topic in during the both in marketing and product side is must have tool, must have agent for every part of the business right now. I would like to share a different perspective about these questions. Like we are seeing different and um, interesting reality, like the traditional performance first playbook hitting a ceiling right now. So I'd like to provide a couple of data to back this information. We observed that like the user acquisition costs increased like 12% year over year, and the ad budgets jumped to 26%. Yet the actual user growth was almost flat like 2% last year. So even more alarming is that across both iOS and Google Play, over the 95% of the mobile game users and installers churn within their first 30 days. So because of this massive leaky bucket, the single most essential capability for sustainable growth into 2026 is adapting the retention-led full funnel framework. You can no longer just buy instance right now. So the teams that are scaling profitably today have fundamentally collapsed the silos between the user acquisition, retargeting, and lifecycle marketing departments. So it's a continuous system where every user's action fuels the next. Like for example, the top tier teams are now threat reactivation campaigns as R&D. Like when they discover a specific creative hook or message that successfully bring the high value lapsed user back into the game, they don't just kept that data in the retargeting silo. They immediately feed those insights back to the top of funnel UA teams to acquire better users from the start. The numbers are completely backing up this up. Our data shows that the who share these creative learning across their acquisition and retargeting efforts achieve up to 30% faster optimization cycles. Furthermore, combined UA and retargeting campaigns deliver 20% higher LTV when those activations are kept in silos. So as we navigate this year, the real disruption isn't new ad format or genre. It's about shifting ranting audience to truly owning the player relationship. So
Amazing. Thanks
that's
for
all.
sharing your insights. I really 100% agree that every interaction feeds the next one in the game or in user acquisition. And the faster you feed the lessons learned, the better you'll be in targeting. And thank
Yeah.
you for sharing all the insights and numbers. That's very, very valuable. I think we have time, unless any one of you wants to jump on what chat I shared and wants to comment. Maybe we can jump to the Q&A for a while, see what questions we have, then return again. So first question is from Nastya. Why is it so common in gaming to talk about acquisition when it comes to growth, but not retention? So maybe
Love this.
I'm
any of
glad
you
we
maybe.
changed that today. I feel like we talked about retention and connected it to creatives
Yeah,
quite
and
I,
a
I
couple, quite a lot. Yeah,
that I also
it's a good
touched the
question
topic
though. It's a really good
as
question.
well. Uh yeah.
I mean, for me, retention's never been growth. It's always been something that should be there from the very beginning anyway. If you're bringing users in and you don't have good retention, then you're wasting money. Like they're coming in
Yeah.
and going out, like a leaky bucket. So for me, it's always been a core fundamental that should be there and should be up and running in the first place.
Mhm.
So it's the starting point basically,
Yeah,
like having a
it should
product.
be the starting point of any product. Like,
That
for any game, you want to retain users. That's the especially free to play model.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah, I had in the past more than a couple of clients that would come to me for help on UA or UA strategy, all of that. And when looking at their numbers with lower tension, I would actually advise them not to scale. Like you can spend something, to test for the sake of testing the product, A/B testing, so you have like statistically significant results, and to improve your product first. But like, don't scale. Like you're just like, yeah, like eating soup with a fork is the
yeah.
metaphor I use.
I
So
100
yeah,
100% agree with you. And
I mean,
it's
nowadays games, especially free to play mobile games, are essentially machines. You know what you put in, and based on your fundamental numbers, you know what you're going to get out. So it's forecasting, it's planning. A lot more comes down to budget management and an understanding of budget distribution across different networks, that kind of stuff. It's a lot more. I've been doing a lot of stuff in PC console lately, and it's such a different type of market. It's where mobile was like 10, 15 years ago right now. So it's that kind of having that understanding of what your game is converting, especially for we were talking about startups earlier. That's one of the main things, and one of the problems when I get pitched by startups. It's really this you can see the people who've come from the mobile ecosystem and have a good fundamental understanding of how mobile operates. And they're able to give you retention numbers, they're able to give you conversion numbers. And it's, when you're looking for investment as a startup, being able to provide that kind of level of information is in this day and age, and given the sort of funding circumstances and everything, is the only way you're going to get funding right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also, yeah, resonates to what Eva mentioned. And it's something which we also see and do. Sometimes we need to fix, like improve retention or think about monetization, how we're gonna basically make money out of the product before you start spending, and not vice versa. It's not like give me the money and then I'll figure out the rest. So it's
Yeah.
topic, and it's super interconnected. You need to do everything like in parallel and at the right stage, but foundations
Yeah.
first and then spend on UA. I'll try to jump on the next one, and I think we already covered this during the course of the conversation. But are you saying that creatives should be created blindlessly now? This was when we were discussing AI and fast generation of creatives, and when something works, you try to understand why. I think, of course, Eva, feel free to jump in here because it was during your part of the session, but I think it was the opposite, which you basically meant. We need to know our product, we need to understand why it works, then become
Yeah.
fast. But yeah, the floor is yours to answer that one.
Yeah, absolutely don't do anything blindlessly, blindly, because first of all, before you trained any models that might help you with the creatives, you know your product best. And you know the direction where, it's heading, especially, the future features or whatever the product is trying to achieve. Um, so that's first. So just from training AI perspective. The second is just generally legal perspective. I know there were a couple of situations where so AI doesn't create anything that is, overly like sexual or anything like that. But especially if you're working with apps that are intended for kids, like you need to, double check a couple of things and set a certain rules and guidelines, which again, you can implement those in your AI. So plus, before you run anything, or even when you have the data, you are going to do a sanity check and analyze things and make a conclusion. For you to do that, you need to actually watch, like look at the creatives that you're running, right? And to make sense out of it as well. So I think AI in the beginning, or at least very beginning, is great for brainstorming, and that is, I think, what we need to figure out and teach like teams and people is how to use AI. It's not just like here's this and then magic happens. Like that doesn't happen. Like you need to train it for it to work for you. And it's very very individual dependent and very product dependent and everything. And the goal is to create those feedback loops so it can learn and your team can learn and everyone can learn what works and what doesn't work. A good little trick for evaluating creatives is instead of looking, hey, what's winning and what's working, which can kind of be overwhelming, um, look for what's not working and just use the method of elimination. That's usually the easier route as well. That's like a little
That's a good
good
good point. Like
good tip.
sometimes
Like
it's
if you
about,
do that mental switch, yeah.
yeah, sometimes it's about what to not do and remove.
Yep.
Yeah. We have another one. A question: what services or capabilities do studios prefer to outsource versus build in-house? And then there is a follow-up. This is from Samreen Hashim, and there is a follow-up by Erdem, which is more or less connected. Any experience to hire offshore development teams while building new products? So, yeah.
Love
Anyone?
this question. I'll happily
Just
have a go at this question. So I've always been like, yeah, let's just build everything. I can actually say, like, I built a retention platform, which did all of the push notifications, emails, SMS, WhatsApp notifications, Facebook notifications, pretty much anything you could ever send to a customer. Um, the I've also gone through built sort of fraud platforms for user acquisition. I think at one point I put a business case together to do an internal MMP. I'm very glad I didn't do that one. I think it's funny. I think in hindsight, it's very easy to get carried away with I want to just build everything because it's fun trying to discover everything, and it depends on the size of the teams that you have, but B, what's really, really difficult with it, and I think what people don't understand when they first go into this kind of thing, is when you decide to build a platform, you have to have people there who understand the intricate technologies of that platform. So if it's the retention platform, you need to understand the specifics of email and how email deep down functions and the problem with blacklist, the problem with, all of this kind of stuff. And that kind of knowledge build up happens over time when you're building a platform out. And it's very, very hard to bring people in once that person or those people have left that organization. Generally speaking, and I've seen it so many times recently, is after a sort of 5, 6, 7 year period, those people have left and this platform is just left, and everybody's just crossing their fingers that nothing goes wrong with it because they're not entirely sure how it functions or how to fix it. So whilst I love building stuff internally. I am a huge advocate for it, but I think it's something to watch out for. Is this, it has to be maintained, and at some point you have to realize that it A will be replaced, or B you will have to find people who are able to keep maintaining it.
So there's a cost of maintenance, like long term. It's not about just
Massive, and I think
build it
people don't
now, let's
understand that
make it
that's a
work.
lot more than
Yeah,
just
I agree.
outsourcing to somebody who's building a platform, like for whichever product.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would just jump in and say I 100% agree. I think a very simple and similar example is like, why would you hire an external accountant? Like, nobody has time for that. Like, how do you mean? It's a matter of focus and focusing on your
Yeah, but I
product or
think
your craft or whatever, right?
half the
Yeah.
problem is gaming originally sort of started as a product-based business,
Yeah.
certainly mobile gaming.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of took over more, and it was, we're building the game, so let's just build this and this and this and this and this.
Hmm.
And a lot of the early companies, like the Zyngas, the Kings, all of those kind of companies, built everything. They didn't want to share data. They didn't want data going out to anybody else. They wanted to hold on to that data. And I think as a legacy, they've kind of, they've had to part ways with some of these internal
Yeah.
systems over time because when they first came to build them, those platforms didn't exist as good as they'd managed to build them for their needs. But then the industry's caught up and in a lot of cases surpassed where they were at. So it became,
Yeah. Yeah.
they built out of necessity, but then it was, we have to move because we can't keep this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And
I
the
think
other
it's a
thing
natural
is,
transition. Hmm.
and the other thing is, we see that so often, even today, when we have so many platforms and standardized solutions or approaches, like developers, it's everyone handles things differently. Like my data pipeline will be like that, or I will use this or that. So it's really interesting in the industry.
Well, also, internal teams aren't the best at documentation. and you find that there's no real understanding, or it's in somebody's head, of how the entire platform works. And they've not been great at documenting. I got experience of this. I was one of these
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah.
you end up having that knowledge base in somebody's head or a few people's heads, and it kind of it turns into this big mess that's very difficult to
Yeah.
understand.
You already
Yeah.
mentioned the solution. Like we have AI, it's easier to document, and also secrets from an experienced global director of product. How you
Yeah. Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a
No,
global
I
director.
think this is a big one. So like one more time for the people in back. Like yeah, teams are just not good at documentation. And I see this often with startups when they start scaling, like growing and hiring people.
See?
That
I've
one
never seen
person
that.
that one person that was the like QA manager and handling everything is now the blocker because they need
Make
to
a
do
Bible and keep it up to date because things
literally
change as well.
like SOPs and then onboarding new people because like I mean eventually they will either not be there
Yeah,
or just take a vacation and everything's like on fire. It's the whole thing. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, for
Thanks
sure.
to both of you. Moving to the next one, very interesting. What trends do you think are overhyped versus actually working?
I don't know. Well, okay. I think we can call it a trend. I think more people talk about AI than companies actually implementing them. I
Especially on
think
LinkedIn.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like everybody's AI pro, but like I think like maybe like 5%, if not less, are actually implementing and building and things like that. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
reality check. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you
It's
so
I'd
not
much.
also argue
sorry,
it's
it's
not
not
it's not
yeah.
overhyped. That's the
Yeah,
like I think
exactly.
it's more. Yeah, I get what you're talking about because I've seen so many sort of Web3
Yeah.
specialists that have suddenly morphed into AI specialists, and it's
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, 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 exactly. It's not overhyped. Like you can make it work, but it's just like, oh, which two clicks. Like, no, it takes work. Like
Yeah.
I built some stuff with AI and you need to think it through, sit down, build it, test it, say like, okay, you did something
100%.
stupid, now fix it.
Okay.
Like, and all of that. And let it train itself, right? But yeah, you can absolutely achieve a lot. And as Adam mentioned, I would encourage you to play with it just for literally
Thank you.
whatever, just so you kind of get the idea of how
Moving on
to
to the
work with it.
next one. Thank you so much. It's super insightful. I just want to make sure that we cover as much as possible from the questions. Thanks
Yeah.
to Samrin. We have more questions from him after that. Mariella asked, curious to hear how the panelists see teams using AI for creative creation today, more from brainstorming and variations, or also for understanding why certain creatives work better. I think we covered this a little bit, but please feel free to jump in. Chautai, also feel free to jump here.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. You know, I can provide some insights on like the teams are doing absolutely both. The industry is currently going through a fascinating learning curve, trying to balance the AI creative creation and optimizing the performance and results, etc. So there's a catch. While AI lowers the barrier of entry by making production incredibly fast and cheap, the barrier actually succeed at scale has never been higher. Uh, Understanding the why the creatives are working, you are going to create a self-competition and exhaust your creative and drive up your CPMs. The most sophisticated teams are using AI just as heavily on the back end for the creative tagging and analysis. For example, we have AI tags and creative tags on our dashboard as well for the creatives to find out what type of models and materials are working on specific networks and regions. So They deploy the supervised AI to learn from the campaign performance in real time. Blending with the human context, with the machine precision, this allows them to instantly understand which specific element, maybe the AI dubbing tone or deliberate failure narrative hook, is actually driving the conversion and retaining the user. So today, AI is not a blind content factor for creatives. They are using it to shorten the testing cycles, increase their creative volume, and create an intelligence loop where every single impression teaches the algorithm exactly what to build next.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chotai. Another one is which platforms or methods should be implemented to optimize advertising revenue? That's from Erdem. And are there any thoughts on, I'm not sure if that's adverse platforms or advertising platforms, but if you have any specific tips on which ones should be implemented, please
It's
feel free
a,
to share that.
it's a hard question to provide answer on ad revenue side.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
I
can,
can maybe
yeah.
jump in here. So the question is like which platforms and generally like how to optimize for revenue, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah.
So I think I saw that question in the comments. Thank you for the question. It's a good one. I would always recommend and say that the first priority is setting the your events or signals from your app to platforms properly. And I cannot emphasize that enough because you can use different like user, let's call it stages within the app to see what kind of converts and works for you best, and getting that kind of Goldilocks for your CPA, right? So CPA, whatever that event and objective is, that will help you understand, like as you go deeper in the funnel, who your audience actually is, because Facebook algorithm in this case, or Meta, will also adjust targeting over time to bring you more of those users. So the more deeper in the funnel you go, the more relevant users, generally speaking. And why you don't want to go perhaps straight to the revenue. That yes, that is the most valuable user and all of that, but you can test so many things between install and revenue, and have those events implemented and kind of follow your valuable user journey. And I think that there's a lot to learn there, and play with that value cost type of thing, and as well as like which creatives work and whatnot. When it comes to platforms or media sources, um, the trend still is, it's not a rule, it's a trend for people to try and start with Meta. And the reason is because typically, first, you have very detailed and quick insights.
Eva,
In
I
it,
love this, but I need to
oh,
ask you to fit into 30 seconds and then we will close
I'll
because
stop
we're
talking. No, 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 I'm
running out
good.
of
I
time.
said the main part.
We have three more questions in the panel. We'll make sure to answer them
Yeah.
after the panel. We can take those
They're
offline.
good questions as well.
Yeah, apologies for not having the time to answer them all, but yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks to our amazing panelists. My takeaway ways are a lot actually, but my call to action will be anyone who attended, take one thing from what these amazing guys said today and try to test it and see how it works for you. Quick round to anyone, maybe 5, 10 seconds to just close the session.
Feel free to add me on LinkedIn.
Of course.
Same.
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 Thanks,
Thank you.
Eva. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Chatai, for the great panel, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank
See
you.
you.
Thanks
Thank you
very
very
much.
much for the
Thank
great moderation.